Welcome back to the show. So as a kid, my dad would pull out the newspaper after dinner and make me and my sister read it to him. So his English was not great, and he wanted us to practice our reading. But more than anything, he also wanted us to know the news and believed in the importance of being informed. Now, this early ritual, who knew, it turned me into a news junkie and ultimately led to my career in media.
Print and digital newspapers really educate and enlighten us, and they are a vital part of a healthy democracy. Journalists help us understand the nuance of a story, and they speak truth to power. So today we are celebrating National Newspaper Week, which is actually happening right now. So, Jess, I understand that you are a huge fan of your local newspaper, and you actually have a little ritual in the morning that you use. Tell us about it.
One of the first things I did when we moved to Hamilton was to get a subscription to the Hamilton Spectators 6 days a week. And so my ritual is coffee in the morning and reading that paper. And I love it. Not only does it give us stuff to talk about when I get home from work, because Simon reads it as well, but it's incredible in the way that it balances its coverage. Like, there are local feel-good stories like Baby Hawk born, but then there are also they're breaking stories, and they are keeping City Hall and local politicians in check. Like, it's doing important stuff.
Yeah.
So I value it a great deal. It means a lot to us.
So great.
That is really great. I think that is, in fact, the beauty of a local paper in particular. I grew up in the era when making it into the local newspaper was a really big deal.
Yeah.
Remember
Oh my
that?
God.
There was a story that featured my dad's story of immigration, and it was featured in the Toronto Star, which is a huge Toronto newspaper. But then, that says August 12th, 1985.
Oh my God, I love that.
But it was then our local newspaper, the Caledon Citizen, who then picked up the Toronto Star story, and it was almost a bigger deal because then everybody in the community was like, "Oh my gosh, you're in the Caledon Citizen."
He got more attention.
We got more attention, and it was like really, it meant almost even more to have our neighbors recognize us in that way as well. So that was my early experience with the newspaper. But Andrea, you also had an experience young with your local newspaper.
Yes, I don't mean to brag. No, I'm joking. Okay, so the actor Danny DeVito came to my elementary school when I was in grade 3. He was filming a movie, and this was the first time I'd ever met a superstar. So we were enamored, and I didn't even know this, but a photographer caught the picture of me asking Mr. DeVito for his autograph. That's me right there.
Oh, yes.
You are so cute! Okay, you know what I remember the most about this? That I could see that he was a full-blown adult, but I could see the top of his head. And I was like, how am I bigger than a grown-up? And I just kept on thinking about that. And so I made the paper, and then I became a celebrity in the neighborhood, but that was my first time.
That is so cool.
Thank you to Jennifer for finding that photo. Awesome.
Amazing. You need to blow that up and put it in your office.
Yeah.
Also, no doubt that print and digital newspapers keep communities informed and connected. So in honor of National Newspaper Week, News Media Canada, which is an industry association representing print and digital newspapers right across Canada, they have launched its first ever bilingual illustrated book called Champions. This features 24 inspiring stories of notable people in the Canadian news media industry. Now, we've actually, out of all of those, we've each selected one person to celebrate on the show today. So who did you pick, Sid?
Okay, so I picked Karen Pugliese, and by all accounts, Karen lives and breathes journalism. She has such a passion for uncovering the truth and telling stories in particular of her Indigenous community. And she isn't afraid to ask the really hard questions. So Jessie Brown from Canada Land, where she's actually now the new editor-in-chief, says this about her, and I quote, "She mentors and protects her reporters and their stories, and she persistently plagues powerful people with ugly secrets," which is really important to do. Right? Amazing that. She also, of course, inspires the next generation to follow in her footsteps. She's a professor of journalism at Toronto Metropolitan University, so which is incredible. And she's actually going to be on the show next week on October 18th with Jessie Brown. So
that is very cool.
I cannot wait to meet her.
I'm so excited as well. I picked Chantal Hébert, who is a bilingual political columnist. I think she's pulling back her work at the Toronto Star, but I love her as a panelist on At Issue so much. She's an old school journalist journalist, and she covers the facts without letting her personal opinion or emotions come into play. I love how measured she is. And she does such a great job of distilling an issue and then putting it into context in a way that I can easily digest it. Plus, I just think she's really cool. She's so cool.
love that.
I love her.
Absolutely. All right, so I chose Margaret Hennegar because not only did she own several local community newspapers, she also wrote a book that encouraged young kids to read newspapers. The book is called No News is Bad News. I know. Clap for that. And as a journalist, my interest in news began with my parents, much like you, Mel, where they always encouraged me to read the newspaper, and we watched 60 Minutes every Sunday after dinner. It was our ritual. I know a lot of people did the same thing. She also has a library named after her in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. And as a former patron of a library, as my first job, I think there's no higher honor. Libraries are not just places for you to study and be quiet. They're places for you to learn and to grow and to imagine and to do everything. And so I don't think there's a higher honor, so that's why I chose her.
I love that. For me, I chose journalist Andrea Picard from the Globe and Mail as my champion. I first stumbled upon him during COVID. I started following his reporting on how COVID was absolutely decimating long-term care homes and the people who were living in them. He really brought it home for me in a compelling way, and also on a micro level. He was sharing individual heartbreaking stories, but then he would also do such a great job of connecting those individual stories to the bigger picture and the way that the pandemic was unfolding. His style of reporting, it is compassionate. He brings the humanity to each one of his stories, but then he hits you with the research and hits you with the hard facts as well. I think it's a perfect blend as a journalist.
Love him.
Now, if you or someone you know is considering a career in news media, I applaud you. And listen, like many jobs, it's not easy, but it's definitely rewarding. And if you believe in justice and truth and you're willing to put in the work, it is a noble profession where you can affect real change at a community and even at a national or even global level.
Yeah, and thanks in part to funding from the Government of Canada, you can show your support for Canadian news media champions by purchasing a copy of the book or downloading the free PDF version at championsofTheTruth.ca. All proceeds from the sale will be donated to First Book Canada, a charitable organization that provides educational opportunities to kids.
Incredible, huh? Hey there, what did you think? Drop your comments below and join the conversation. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can find more on everything from food and fashion to pop culture and current events. See you soon.